remember to do whatever this guy tells you to do. Drew Frank is arguably the best manager we've ever had in the history of our company. He has more silver cups, I believe, than anybody else in the history of the company. 22 silver cups personally, as an office, as a district manager, as a division manager. He's built one of the biggest dynasties in the history of the company, and this guy knows what it takes to be a champion. And so, I don't really have to give him any introduction. If you don't know who Drew Frank is, talk to your manager. They'll tell you who he is. He's won all the trips. He's, regionally and divisionally and nationally. He's hosted many trips for his division. He works with some of the top reps in the history of the company: Curtis JQs, Robert Danbury, Tui JQs, Tanya Starkle, and the list just goes on and on and on. And I'm sure he'll talk about them because he always talks about his people on his team and shines on them. And he knows what it takes to not only be a champion himself, but also how to build a championship team, and more importantly, how to show up as a champion in difficult times. And so that's why we've asked him to come speak with us today, wrap up this event with us today, give us the best goods he possibly could on what it takes to be a champion. And so I recommend you get out your notebooks and your pens right now, and that you get ready to take some awesome notes, because Drew's got some really great stuff to share with us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Drew Frank.
All right. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate the introduction. I guess I want to start off with a couple things. First, it's incredibly difficult to follow John Berghoff, so I will do my best. And what a lineup of speakers on the agenda. I hope this has been a fulfilling and rewarding use of your time, and everybody's gotten a ton out of this event. I appreciate the Cutco community for allowing me to wrap up your event tonight. I do want to say that I recorded this message about a week and a half prior to the date of the virtual summit. And I want to recognize that the coronavirus pandemic is going on, and I'm not sure exactly where we're going to be community-wise, nationwide, by the time the virtual summit happens. So I do want to respect and realize that, everybody is in a different position, and, health-wise, family-wise, community-wise, work-wise, everybody is impacted in some way, some more than others. And I want to recognize that. And I hope that me trying to give a motivational, inspiring message to wrap up this event is not insensitive in any way, but I'm so passionate about some of the things that I want to share and some of the things that Josh asked me to convey to the group that I think it's important, regardless of the situation that we're in. And I think about the 17 years that I've been in Cutco, and I've seen challenging times, nothing quite like this, but I've seen recessions in life and business. I've seen events, I've seen wars, I've seen things that have changed the economy and changed the landscape of our business several times. And what I've known and what I know for a fact is that Vector people respond well to any situation. And I'm so happy and so thankful that I'm Vector trained, because I've learned to control what I can control. And most importantly is control my emotions, control my mentality, and control my choices moving forward. I've learned to not harp on the past or harp on the things that are not within my control. I've learned to find positives out of any situations. I've learned how to look for and search for solutions, even if there are none visible to the everyday person. I've also learned to never make excuses. I was mentally and emotionally capable to handle any situation. And I know that we together as a community, as a Cutco family, will get through whatever hurdles are thrown our way during this time. Life is about how you respond to challenge. I remember 2009 being one of my best years as a manager, and one of the best years for our reps. Curtis JQs, I think, took down almost every national record that year, and that was after the 2008 recession. I remember the New Orleans office breaking records after Katrina. I remember the New York City office breaking records after 9/11. And it's unbelievable what happens when people and community come together in times of challenge, because it's about how you respond to uncertainty, how you respond to the fear and anxiety that could be presented to you. I think it's important to myself. I think it's important to all of us how we respond, because it's important to the future version of ourselves. It's to the future version of me that others look up to, and it's also the future version of me that I look at myself and I look up to. How do I deal in times of challenge or uncertainty? And experiencing challenge is important. It's important for growth. It's important for development. It's important to build experience for the future. Life is always going to present hurdles, and it's important to understand that you always have a choice in how you react. It makes me appreciate Cutco even more. We've got an unbelievable product that I've been proud to stand behind for 17 years, something that people are using every day, now more than ever, cooking at home, using a quality product that's American made, 100% sanitary, and something that's going to pay back time and time again, and something that's a great investment over time. I think about the economy and the toll that has been taken just recently, and myself included, heavily invested. But again, I can control what I can control. And something else I realize is that my normal expenses and the normal way that I live my life is not going to be changed based on my long-term investments, my 401k. I've never paid for, my everyday bills with my retirement money. And even though that's scary right now to look at, it's definitely not what people are spending their Cutco money on. And I've always found that when the economy is tough, we seem to have our biggest summers, our biggest years, our biggest averages with Cutco, because it's a product that withstands and it is isolated from economy imbalances. And we don't want to celebrate things like that in when others are affected in a negative way, but certainly our product is isolated and insulated from the economy being in a dip. I also think that just the opportunity to have control. I love that our business allows us to work when we want, how we want, whenever we want, and how much we want. And no matter the situation, no matter the time of year, we can always choose to work when we want. And we always have the ability to course correct and navigate a little bit and change how we see fit. So I love this business. I love everything that Cutco Invector represents. And I'm proud to be here for 17 years and excited about what the future is going to bring. In those 17 years, I have seen champions in the business at all levels, reps and managers, and I've been through some exciting times, and I've been through a lot of those championship experiences and worked with those people myself. What makes a Brandon Brown? What makes a Curtis Jacques? What makes a Deanna Scortino? What makes a Josh Mueller? What makes champions in our business, and what separates somebody from good to great? Everybody starts from the same place. Everybody has a sample kit, a piece of rope, pair of super shears, right? We all start in the same place. So what is the difference? You might look at me and you say, well, tell us, Drew, you're in that position. And I understand, and I recognize and respect my position in the company and the history and the success that I've been a part of. But I remember my first training. I remember, of course, my first training. I was trained once. I remember my training. I remember my interview. I remember my voice cracking the first time I said something in training because I was so nervous. And then I remember sweating and dripping, just pouring sweat in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in summer of 2003 because I was nervous that I was going to get kicked out of training because I was unconfident and couldn't read my manual out loud. And that was my first experience in Cutco. And we all come from the same place. And I recognize that I am a division manager in the position I am now, but we all have the same opportunity. We all have the same choice. So I want to talk about things tonight that makes a difference between those who make it from good to great, and especially in the Cutco business. If you're going to do something, you might as well be great at it. Life is too short. I always tell my reps, life is too short to suck at anything. So it doesn't matter what you do, whether it is doing something with work or school or sports or relationship, you might as well be good at it. And you've got one chance at it. And whatever it is, life is short, and everybody has experienced different things and pain on different level. But at some point you realize that you have one chance, one opportunity, and life is worth taking advantage of. And this business is a great opportunity to practice that. There are no negatives. There is no failing in Cutco, and all it does is prepare us for life and give us unlimited potential positives in our life. Whatever you want for yourself in your life is possible, and whatever you want for yourself in this business is possible. I want you to realize that biologically, we are all the same. We're just people who came from people. Literally, we all just came from between two legs, and we're just people who came from people. So we all have the same opportunity. We all have the same human potential. It's our environment and our experiences that shape us. Everything you believe about your life and the world around you has been shaped by your experience, your family, your school, your neighborhoods, your friends, places you've been, your social media feed. Our limitations are created by ourselves and others. Think about this. We follow the law, and the law is written down. It's a set of rules on paper. So we follow that because it's a set of rules and we know we have to follow it. Think about the rules you've made up for yourself in your head. Think about the constant loop of self-talk, which is on auto repeat, and that is screaming at you a lot louder than a set of physical rules. We avoid going after our goals and our dreams more so because of the set of rules in our head than we avoid going after and doing crimes because of the set of rules on paper. And that is an absolute fact and a reality. So many people are too scared to do what they want because they tell themselves that they can't do it. They're not good enough. They're not strong enough. They're not talented enough. They're not from the right area. They didn't have the right experience. The woe is me, whatever it is. And it might be legitimate reasons. It might be specific limitations, but you know what? We are all biologically the same with the same opportunity. And in Cutco, we got a sample kit, we got an opportunity, and we have the ability to choose our direction. And everybody has that. And so no matter where your business is right now, you're in the perfect place to make a choice of how you want your future to go. How often do we step back and study our life and self-assess? How often do we say, is this the optimal way of acting, of thinking, of operating, my habits, my thoughts, my emotions? How often do we step back and self-assess? Or do we keep doing things just the way that they've always been done because that's the way it is? Well, I look at human beings and we're people who come from people. So everything has the opportunity to improve. Everything is inherently infallible and people are inherently infallible. So all the lessons and all the experiences and all the people who told you, you can be this, or you can do this, or you shouldn't try for that, or you shouldn't go after that, or it's going to be a waste of your time. Those are all people who came from people too. So go out and figure it out for yourself and figure out how good you can be and what your potential is. And I've learned in Cutco that you could do a lot of great things, and it proves to you how great you can be in the future. Because again, it's not just this business, it's how you're going to be after Cutco. It's how you're going to be simultaneously in other areas of your life because of Cutco. How you do something is how you do everything. And Cutco trained me to think a certain way and to act a certain way. And it wasn't just myself, it's thousands and thousands of others. And I want to share tonight a few lessons that I've learned along the way and a few focuses and philosophies that I have that I think might shed some light on what makes a difference between good and great in Cutco. I think too many people listen to the bogus limiting beliefs that they have in their head and they carry along with them. Your unconscious brain can be as dangerous as it is helpful. We can drive home without paying attention and we can say, wow, I didn't even know where I was going, and now I'm in my driveway, I'm in my parking space. But how much does our unconscious brain also hold us back without us even realizing? And that's what I want to talk about a little bit tonight. Anything you want in your life and your business is possible. There's no restriction to what you're capable of in this life. Anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't deserve to be in your life. And I love that in Cutco, everybody has the same opportunity. I love that no matter who you are, what office you're in, what computer screen or TV monitor you're looking at right now, anybody on this call, anybody tuning in can be great if they choose to. And one of my early mentors said, hey, as long as you just keep working hard and you keep fighting and you never quit, you're going to end up on top. And that advice, that laughed at it at the time, but it was pretty good advice. Just keep showing up. My assistant division manager, Kevin Barth, he just says, just show up. Just show up and good things happen. And he's proven that within his organization and to himself over many years. I want to talk about work ethic. I want to talk about goals. I want to talk about habits, progress, and emotions. We're going to talk about work ethic, goals, habits, progress, and emotions. Let's start with work ethic. Whenever you work for yourself, and especially in Cutco, realize that you are the boss and the employee at the same time. That is the most difficult thing to do. And when people say, oh, working for yourself is easy because you get to choose when you work and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is easy as long as you're really good at being a boss and employee at the same time. But the problem is sometimes you're too good at being the employee and you say, F you boss. And sometimes you're too good at being the boss and you say, you're fired employee. So you end up doing nothing. And a lot of people end up quitting their goals and quitting on their objectives for the week because they don't know how to balance being a boss and employee at the same time. So I want you to think about, am I a better employee or am I a better boss? And sometimes you have to go back and forth, and sometimes you have to be a better boss and sometimes you have to be a better employee, but you have to learn how to work with yourself better. So how do you do that? How do you become a great boss and employee at the same time? Well, you have to coach yourself and you have to listen. You have to know what advice to give, and you also have to take it. And it's hard because you have to be good at both. So a couple thoughts on it. First is you have to grind. You have to be willing and you have to be prepared to grind. When people tell me, ask me, give me some advice on work ethic or how to hit your goals, I just say there's no shortcuts. I remember being, 21, 22 years old, right out of college, opened up my first office, my district office for Cutco. And it was just 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, no excuses. And I told myself, and I told all my competitors too, that nobody was going to outwork me and nobody was going to put in more time, more effort, more preparation. And it wasn't just spending, idle time. I was really doing stuff. I was value-added activities nonstop. And it was so fulfilling. It was so rewarding. I never ran out of energy because I knew that I was building something great for the future. And that's something that's important. When you do something you love and you're passionate about what you do, it never feels like work. So whether you're putting in 6 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours or 14 hours in a day, if you're doing that, it's going to feel rewarding. I read a great book by Matthew Kelly called Off Balance, and it talks about how your life is your life. And it doesn't matter, how much time you spend in work versus social versus family versus playtime. Your life is your life. And as long as it's fulfilling and rewarding, well, that's leading a great life. And it's not about the amount of time spent in things. So I loved what I did. I was passionate about what I was building. It was mine. And I loved owning my business because every minute of time I put was building my current business, but also building my future business. So I was the grinder. I was so passionate about what I was doing. It was important to me because I was the CEO, COO, and the CFO of my own business. I realized that there were no magic tricks. There were no time savers, no shortcuts. Those didn't work. I thought about what is a hard days of work, because when I worked hard and I built that foundation in my 20s, everything became so easy. There was never a challenge. There's never been an obstacle that I've been overwhelmed by, whether it's, physical challenges, and I've competed in Ironman competitions, and whether it's mental challenges, going through difficult times or helping other people through difficult times, or just, situations that we're going through now. I don't feel overwhelmed in situations because I learned through Cutco and through Vector how to put in a hard day's work. And I know how to empty the gas tank and find that extra 10% or 20%, whether it was push weeks or those, the long phone jams, booking my schedule, or committing to a goal and not stopping until I hit it. Those lessons held with me, and those will be with me for the rest of my life. I feel like some people feel like they deserve, I deserve more time off. I deserve more vacation. I deserve shorter days. I deserve an assistant. I deserve more contests. I deserve more than whatever it is. You're a ball of energy walking around a rock floating in space. You deserve nothing. I deserve nothing. There is no room for complaining. We have the ability to choose our future and choose how we lead our lives. You think about, what life was like a couple thousand years ago, what life was like a couple hundred years ago. We have it pretty good. I know we have some difficult things. We have challenges that we face, but overall, we don't deserve anything, and we should be appreciative of everything we have. And that's the opportunity and the ability to grow a business and develop a business that we created on our own. If you want to be great, just get it and stop thinking about how hard it might be. It takes big decisions and bold moves, but most importantly, it takes that first step. I give Curtis as the example. I give, Robert Danbury as an example, 2 Hall of Fame CSPs, 2 EJQs, that I've been able to work with for many, many years. And I get to see, the steps that they've taken. Michael Athens and Will Heffernan and Blake Fox and so many of the Hall of Famers and up and comers in Rocky Mountain Division, the Braden Campbells and the Charlie Boyds that I get to work with and see. And in every situation, all of these conversations, and I'm giving examples of some of the people that I've gotten to work with, because in all of these conversations, it's all about taking that first step. And it's all about making the choice and saying, you know what, I know it's going to be an uphill battle. I don't know exactly what it's going to take. I don't know the exact plan, but I'm willing to go after it, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to be great in this business. So making that choice and willing to put in the work. Be proud of working hard. You know what the thing that grinds my gears the most is when I go to a push week competition and somebody stands up and they say, I sold this much Cutco, but I only did it in this many days, or I took some time off and I did. No, I don't like hearing that. Nobody is impressed with working partial time or putting in half effort. Cutco is easy to sell. We have the greatest product in the history of the universe. Of course it's easy to sell. Nobody's impressed that you sold the amount of product. People are impressed with work ethic. People are impressed with how you show up. People are impressed with integrity. Your work ethic is transferable to how you do this business and to how you do everything outside of this business. Be someone who can be trusted and relied on, not just someone that can sell a bunch of knives because the knives sell themselves. How you do this represents who you are. And this experience prepares you for how you will navigate life later. And again, life does not get easier. Life only gets tougher. Learn how to grind here and take on challenges, and you'll be prepared for anything that comes your way. I think about building your capacity here and taking on the world. And that's what so many people in my division, and I know in our company, plan to do. In Rocky Mountain Division, some of the tenets that we focus on with work ethic is we plan, we prepare, and we manage our time. We plan, we prepare, and we manage our time. A lot of our focus is on looking ahead. What does next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 months, a year from now look like? And if you have great planning and preparation and you manage your time, you'll be prepared for any challenge, any size goal. I tell my reps that complacency is the enemy of success. Whenever you have a positive result, either a big sale or a big day or a big week, take advantage of it. Put your foot on the gas pedal. The best time to take advantage of positive results and positive emotions, the best time to get good results is when you're in a state of positive emotions and a positive mindset. So as soon as you make that big sale, as soon as you have that big week, put your foot on the gas pedal and keep on going. What's in the past is in the past, and all you can control is the future. Whenever somebody has a big week or a sale and they try to celebrate it, I say, great, celebrate it for a minute and then jump right back into it. It's the time to influence and impact your future. So complacency is the enemy of consistency and success. So keep on grinding. Take advantage of that energy. I always tell my reps to have a positive sense of anxiety, especially about Tuesdays. The weekly cycle for Cutco ends on Monday night. Tuesday is the most important time. Everybody's at zero. And for the past, 14, 15 years, I've been telling everybody, hey, Tuesday morning, you're tied with Curtis. Go after it. Every Tuesday morning, you're tied with Brandon. Go after it. Everybody's at zero starting on Tuesday morning. So it's always an opportunity to start strong. We talk about a finish strong, start strong mentality in Cutco. For the week, it's how can you have a strong Monday to finish your week strong and get a great paycheck? How can you start strong on Tuesday to start your next week cycle big? So I tell my reps in the office, try to have a grand day every Monday and a grand day every Tuesday. That way you're influencing both paychecks and you're preparing and making sure that you are buffering your financial opportunity and you're making sure you're going after your goals. You could look at the same thing with a month hitting bonus or a campaign. Starting the last week of the month strong, making sure you're crushing it for your levels and hitting your promotions, and then starting the next month strong to go after your levels and competitions. So that positive sense of anxiety, excited about the future because you know that somebody is right on your tail. I put down the last thing with work ethic is act one level above. If you are a brand new rep right out of training and you're like, who is this guy? He's got a lot to say and he doesn't take a whole lot of breath. Then act like you're already at your dirty 30 promotion and you're at 30%. What does somebody at 30% act like? What do they talk like? What are their habits like? How many phone calls do they make? If you're at dirty 30, how do you act like you're a 50%? What are the habits, the routines, the mentalities, the philosophies, and the activities that those people do? And if you're at that level, what do the CSPs do? What are the best of the best in the company? What do the Alicia Anders do? How do they grind? And what do the Mike Dowards do every day? I see those two on Facebook every single day promoting their business and grinding. Act one level above. So how do you put yourself in that position and say, I'm going to make the choices of the people above me? I did that when I was a rep. I did that when I was a new district manager. I do that now as a division manager. I say, how do I act one level above? And how do I make choices like the executives make? Wim Hof says, if you give the best, you get the best. So I want you to think about in your work ethic, how are you giving the best? Next thing I want to talk about is goals. I worked hard in my 20s to have the life I lived in my 30s and beyond. If you want to grow or succeed at a high level, you have to be uncommon and make different and uncommon choices. Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else, so later you may live like no one else. I think about goals and I try to simplify them. And I want to give you a couple concepts on how to simplify your goals. The first is something that Kevin Barth reminded me of recently is just the focus on what, why, how. What do you want? Why do you want it? How are you going to get it? And that's just as simple as that. What do I want? I want to hit this goal. I want to be viewed as this, or I want to hit, this achievement. What is it that you want? And be very, very specific for your goals and think big about those. Again, who cares about about failure? Who cares about I guess the decision of what you should go after, or how you should go after it, because again, you've got one chance at it. And this is a very, very forgiving business. So if you don't hit your goal the one time, go after it the next time, and you'll learn your lessons by taking it on the chin. So what do you want? Why do you want? And how are you going to get it? Be simple and direct. Now, your what has to be big. You got to have that vision, because if it doesn't scare you a little bit, you're not going to go after it. It's not going to force you into action or activity. I think about the fears of making big goals. Not good enough. It's too hard. I don't have the support. I don't have the confidence. Realize that you're human and you have a sample kit. You can do whatever the hell you want. We all came from the same place. And as a reminder, it has to be somebody. Why not you? Why does it have to be that other name? Why can't your name be on that trophy? Can't your name be on that list? Why can't your name be on that comma paycheck? It can be you, and it's your choice. I also want to let you know that dreams and goals are bullshit. And I want you to think about commanding yourself into success. Dreams and goals are bogus. It's all about commandments. And I want you to jot down on a piece of paper, if you can just make 2 columns for me, and you can do it on your notes if you're taking notes in your phone, but just make 2 columns right down the middle. And we're going to do an activity. This is how I teach my Cutco sales professionals, my new reps, all of my district managers, how to create their goals for every campaign. It's called the 10 Commandments exercise. And we're not going to make goals. We're not going to make dreams, because if you just make goals and dreams, you're not really going to commit to it. We need to make commandments. We need to tell ourselves in no uncertain terms what we are going to accomplish this year. Whether it's in our business and our personal life, we're going to go after our 10 commandments. And whether you're going to do this for the rest of the spring campaign, or for the summer, or for the year of 2020, I want you to think about commanding yourself into action, because there's no better way to be a boss and employee than to give yourself commandments. If you just say, hey, employee, we're going to dream a little bit here. We're going to give ourselves some goals. How much are you going to listen to the boss version of you? But if the boss version of you says, this is going to happen, and by May or by April or by October, by December, this is going to happen, and we're going to put the steps in place to make sure it happens, I think you might listen to yourself a little bit more. You might take yourself a little bit more seriously. So let's start off with those business commandments. And it depends on where you're at in your business. If you're a brand new rep and you haven't even made your first sale yet, maybe your first commandment is make my first sale. Maybe it's hit my first promotion. Maybe it's sell my first homemaker, sell my first ultimate, have a grand day, have a 5K day, 10K day. So in our business, I want you to start writing right now. What are the 10 commandments that you have to accomplish no matter what you're going to make sure you get done? And let's just try to focus it on small term. Let's just try to do it this spring campaign, just so we have a short-term focus, maybe some CSPs if you want to think a little bit longer. Maybe you can think about this for your 10 commandments for the year. But the reason why I say this is because what I want you to do is I want you to fast forward, and I want you to put yourself, and let's say that the date is going to be the end of April that we're going to think about this, and that's only a month or two. But let's say it's at the end of the summer and you're making your 10 commandments for the summer. Let's use that as the example, make it easier. So fast forward to the end of August. And if I'm sitting here August 31st and I look back and I say, what are the 10 things that if I accomplished these 10 things, if I did these, made these happen, these 10 things, then I know that my summer was rewarding, was fulfilling, and I will be so happy. I will be so happy if these 10 things happen. And I think about that because I realize that on December 31st, when I look back at the year and I do some self-introspection, sometimes it's hard to think of 10 things that went really well in a particular area, whether it's personal life or business. But what if in a short period of time, we can say, I can make these 10 things happen. So let's see it. Let's see if we can do that. Start jotting them down. What are the 10 things that you have to do in your business by blank time, by let's say the summer? Is it your first, comma paycheck, or, blank number in front of it? Is it number of orders in a week? Does it have to do with certain number of sales? Is it, maybe a promotion? Is it giving a talk at a team meeting? Is it hitting a commission level? Is it taking somebody on a field training for a CSP. Maybe it's breaking a record and doing something you've never done before. What are the 10 things that you have to do over the next couple months that you are committed to 100%? And looking back, you can say, this will be the most productive and rewarding couple months that I've ever had in this business. And if it's the first couple months in your business, well, just thank yourself that you're starting off with good objectives and good habits. Now, let's look at the personal side. I do the same thing with the personal commitments, and I cannot tell you enough how powerful this is as an exercise in life. I do it with family, I do it with friends, I do it, and I give advice to other friends and other businesses to be able to implement this. And it's the 10 commandments in your personal life. If you were to fast forward until August 31st or December 31st, however you want to do it, and you were to look back and you to say, what are the 10 things that I had to accomplish that if these things got done, then I'm going to be motivated, inspired, and I'm going to be so thankful for doing these things. So is it, I'm going to, it could be material things. It could be getting that new phone. It could be, purchasing the car, the acquisition that you need, moving to that new apartment. So things like that can be on that list. But what are the 10 commandments? If it could be reading this book, it could be calling that one person back. It could be, salvaging and fixing that relationship that I had to. It could be filing my taxes. It could be, clearing the laundry out of the pile that's been sitting on the floor for 6 months. What are those 10 things? Nothing too big or too small, because if you're somebody that gets a little bit overwhelmed with big things, if you make a list of 10 little things you did, then you get used to winning, you get used to accomplishment, and then you start making a list of 10 more bigger commandments. But give yourself 10 commandments of things that you are going to do no matter what, 100%, and you're committed to doing that by blank date. Now, here's the other thing that that has to happen. When you do these commandments, you have to take the first step. If you just have a goal, if you have a dream, the reason why I said they're bullshit before is because if you have a goal, if you have a dream, and they're just in your head and nothing happens, you're not going to make progress on it. So you have to put it in your planner. Take the first step. So if you made the commandment of, I need to sell my first homemaker, well, what are you going to do to sell that first homemaker? You're just going to wish it happens and hopefully it does? Or are you going to study the approach, pages 8 and 9, until you memorize the clothes, you memorize all the objections, you make sure you know how to handle the 5-pay objection, make sure you know how to handle the Mr. Jones objection, how are you going to prepare and set yourself up so you're more likely to do that? Now, if it's something specific, like I want to buy that phone or I want to buy that thing, well, let's make a 6-week or 8-week or 10-week savings plan so you put a little bit of money away each week so you can build towards that. Or let's say you want to learn a new language. Well, how do we put it in our schedule and our planner that, okay, I'm going to put 3 hours a week trying to, study my Rosetta Stone so I can learn that language, right? Every goal, every commandment you give yourself needs to have an action step. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be a goal that you talk about and you say, oh, I remember thinking about how cool that would have been that one time, right? That's what's going to happen if you don't put it in your planner. So if you have a great idea and if you want to do it, put it into action and take that first step. If you don't know what that first step is, think about who the person is who could teach you what that first step is and make that your first step to call or set up a one-on-one with that person who could help guide you. All right, I want to talk about habits. And again, we mentioned the boss and the employee mentality. And for me, as far as habits and how we act and how we make decisions on a daily basis, to me, it's just, and I hate to put it bluntly, but it's just a choice. And I say, you got to just do it and just stop thinking about it. Stop the conversation in your head, whether it's the right decision or not. You're better and stronger than that. And if you know that you need to do something to improve your life, if your why is strong enough, the hows, they just fall into place. And it's just getting better. And if you can't get better, you got to deal with it. So for me, I don't want to deal with mediocrity. I want to get better in every situation. So you either do things or you don't. You either make the calls or you don't. You either go the extra mile or you don't. You take care of customers or you don't. You give the extra bonus points or you don't. You go above and beyond in every situation or you don't. It's just those little things. It's just you do or you don't. And you have to make sure that you're making those right choices and those positive moves that will influence your business in a positive way. You don't have to change your entire life to learn how to take control. And I want to give you a piece of advice, and I want you to think about, and let's just commit to on a small scale. So many people think, I need to change all my habits. I need to change my entire life in order to be successful. It's not that. You really just need to learn how to take control. And let's just try just on a small scale. What's one habit you want to get rid of, and what's one habit that you want to pick up over the next month? So just give yourself that challenge over the next month. What's one thing I can drop and what's thing I can pick up? It could be a small thing, big thing, but what is that one thing? It could be, as simple as I'm not going to do fast food. Well, that might be easy for the next month, but I'm not going to do blank for the next month. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to read more. But what's one negative habit to get rid of? What's one positive habit to implement? And can you track it? Again, it's in the planner. So for me, it's like little OCD check boxes. So I'll just, my goal for the week. If I did it, I'll check it off. If I didn't, then I can self-assess. But, think about control as little habits. I also think about success in habits as winning the day. And you don't have to go out and crush the world and take over the world and be everybody's hero every single day. But how do you win the day? What does that mean for you? And for everybody, it's different, because for me, that's just the habits of success and achievement, and in getting used to succeeding and achieving on a daily basis. Trent Booth taught me about the critical six, and that was a list of 6 things that you're going to make sure you accomplish. And you spend a few minutes every morning focusing on the critical 6 or the night before. And if you accomplish those, you're going to feel good. Some people say it's the one thing. What's the one thing that I have to do today that if I accomplish this one thing, then everything else is going to take its course, or I'll feel good. You know, I teach my team a lot. If you can have one win every day in your business, in your Cutco business, and you can build up 365 wins, that's going to be a successful year no matter how you slice it. All right, I want to chat about progress. And I want to let you know that nobody is going to do this for you. Nobody is going to grow for you. At a certain point, you have to realize that your life is your life and it's all on you. People come from people. Again, at a certain point, you have to stop relying on people and take control. You know, depending on who you are and where you're on this call, at a certain point, think about it, like you're not going to be able to rely on your parents or your family for everything. You're an animal crawling on a rock floating in space. At a certain point, you've got to be able to fend for yourself and figure it out and learn how to survive as a human. And that is in your business and in your career as well. My college roommate freshman year, once he saw me eating some unhealthy food, he said, "Hey, just realize that every decision you make in life puts you closer or further away from your goal." And I spit out what I was eating immediately. But everything you do in life, every decision you make either gets you closer or further away from your goal. And it's important to be self-introspective, to be able to look at ourselves and look at our goals and think about where we're at in comparison to where we want to be. And one of the exercises that I do with my team is called the Wheel of Life exercise. And this is something that Trent Booth taught me many years ago, and my team finds a lot of value in this. And this is just self-assessment. We're not going to go through it right now, but I want to give you some categories just to give yourself an exercise later that you can self-assess and give yourself some direction. It's called the Wheel of Life. And I take a wheel and I cut it into 6 equal parts, 6 pieces of the pie. And I'm going to list off those pieces of the pie just so you can know the categories. I won't do it with this finger because it looks like I'm flipping you off. But we've got family, personal development, finances, health, professional development, and social life. We've got family, personal development, finances, health, professional development, and social life. Those are the 6 categories that I was taught how to navigate and assess. Now, you can make up whatever 6 categories you want, as long as you're being introspective and you're looking at different areas of your life and you're saying, where am I at and where do I want to be and how do I take action on it? So let's say, for example, personal development. And what I would say to you is rate yourself on this pie chart, that piece of the pie, 1 to 10 on how well you think you're doing in that area. So personal development, how do I think I'm doing? Well, I'm at this event, I'm at this meeting, so I'm giving myself some credit for being here because I know that I'm growing myself just by listening to the messages that I am today. But how do I do with personal development? Reading, spiritual development, health, wellness. How do I do in that area? Let's say I give myself a 6. I'm doing some good things, but I know I could be better. By the way, I would never rate myself more than a 9 in anything personally. Sometimes I would even say a 7 or 8 because there's always room to grow. But let's say I rated myself a 5 or a 6. I want to immediately say, what's one thing I can do over the next month to get myself to 1 notch higher? How do I get from a 6 to a 7? What does that look like? Well, what if I picked up that book that I've been meaning to read and I put it in my planner that I said, here's the hour that I'm going to start reading this book, and I take that first step and I put it in my schedule. So how do I get from a 6 to a 7? How do I get from a 7 to an 8 in each area? So I can do the same thing with my family. I can say, with my family, where do I rate myself? And the first time I did this exercise, when I rated myself a family, the one action step I gave myself was, I want to talk to my grandma more. And I committed to calling my grandma and talking to my grandma every Sunday morning from that point forward. And I didn't make it every Sunday morning, but for many, many years, I had an incredible conversation with my grandma on Sunday mornings. And it's one of the most rewarding experiences and things that I did for myself. And it was because of an exercise like this. So family, personal development, finances, health, professional development, and social life. How would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? And how do you get 1 level better in the next month? And what is that action step? Maybe it's finances. Maybe it's coming up with a savings plan. Maybe it's getting from survival mode to stability mode. What does that look like in your world for those 6 categories? And if you don't know what that first step is, your first step is calling someone who can help you discover your first step. I also think about progress and how do we spend our time. Again, we've got one chance at this, and it's important to be intentional about how we spend our time. Don't be mediocre at anything, especially don't be mediocre at Cutco, because our product is so good, our programs are so good, our training is so good, and the opportunity is so robust. Salvador Dali says, life is too short to remain unnoticed. The last thing I want to talk about tonight is emotions. And as I said, we are the boss and the employee of our businesses at the same time. And emotional management is so crucial. When I used to say to myself, well, I had a tough week, or I wasn't feeling that good, or I was dealing with family stuff. Well, unfortunately, when you're the boss and the employee, those excuses don't fly, because the boss can't really, the boss isn't going to take that excuse. And if the boss does, well, then it's a bad boss. So it's important to compartmentalize emotions and realize that a lot of times work still has to get done. And it doesn't mean that you're minimizing the thing that's going on in life, whether it's personal life or situation. It doesn't mean that you're minimizing it. It doesn't mean that you're not taking that into account. It means that you are taking care of the future version of you. You're taking care of your future emotional self, your future financial self, and working hard and maintaining your business, making sure you stay consistent even during tough times is so important. And your future self will thank you, because you're working hard not just for your current state, but you're working hard for your future state. And I will tell you that I've experienced pain, I've experienced trauma, I've experienced really difficult times in my life and in my business, and through those times, being able to have the control and the flexibility with Cutco to be able to maintain my business, grow my business, and sometimes even bury my head in my business. I was very appreciative of that opportunity. We just can't afford to have pity parties. Some of us are really good pity party planners, so it's important to compartmentalize those emotions. Being human means your future is in your control. Be who you want to be emotionally, mentally, and physically. We oftentimes talk about what we want to do. It's just as important to talk about who we want to be in 2020. And the last thing that I want to chat about, and the last thing that I want to leave you with, is thinking about how you want to be from this point moving forward, and how you want to be in 2020. And I started a list in November, and I was thinking about what was coming up in 2020, and I thought to myself, I want this to be, and not I want this to be, I'm committing this to be the best year that I've ever had in my life. And I commit that every year because I really want the most out of life. And I realized that it wasn't just about goals and tangible things. It was about how I felt about myself and how I wanted to feel around others, among others, and how I wake up every morning and how I go to sleep every night. And that is completely separate from my business goals. Of course, I want to go out and crush the world. Of course, I want more silver cups. Of course, I want to lap the field. I want to do all those things. But more importantly, I want to be in 2020 something that I've never been before. And I started writing down a list, and I hope that you can get on board with this too. And I want you to just start jotting down the things that inspire you. How and who do you want to be in 2020? I wrote down, I want to be present in 2020. I want to be understanding in 2020. I want to be aware in 2020. I want to be sensitive to others. I want to be curious about anything and everything. I want to have no ego and not think that I already have all the answers. I want to be alert. I want to be available to others. I want to be honest. I want to be direct. I want to be real with people. I want to be authentic in my communication and my relationships. I want to be human. I want to be aggressive towards my goals and towards my future. I want to be committed to success. I want to be committed to people. I want to be committed to my word. I want to live with integrity. I want to be fearless. I want to be relentless. I will be patient. I will be humble. I will be grateful. I will be helpful. I will be giving. I will be happy no matter what. I will be selfless. I will be focused. I will feel alive every day. I want to be calm, maybe not in this talk at certain times. I want to be authentic. I want to be prepared. I want to be fun. I want to be reliable. I want to be genuine. I want to be generous. I want to be there when I'm needed. I want you to think about who you want to be in 2020. Thank you, Cutco community. Thank you, Josh, for letting me wrap up this event and this meeting tonight. Anything is possible. We have unlimited potential in life and in this business. Make the decision today to have an unbelievable rest of your 2020. Thank you and good night.